What are the best anime Yu-Gi-Oh decks? Big dog, y'all been waiting for this tier list for a while. Today, I've comprised a list of the most popular and powerful anime decks, and I'm gonna be giving you a tier list on them. That's right, big dog, whether it's Yugi's Dark Magician all the way to Playmaker's Access Code Talker. Today, we're gonna be talking about the most powerful anime decks that you could be using right now in Yu-Gi-Oh. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Let's go ahead and start off this tier list with ABC, which is actually an anime archetype. Not only did Seto Kaiba use X, Y, and Z, Chaz Princeton used VW, X, Y, and Z, and the ABC cards are just a play off of that union strategy. While ABC isn't really good right now, there is some more support in Duelist Pack, Duelist of Brilliance. I know, it sounds completely stupid and redundant, but inside of that set, it gives it a few new cards, one of them being X-Cross Cannon, which is a very good extender for the strategy and does so much for the deck. And the other one is being Union Activation, which is a search card for the deck, provided that you play enough Union monsters. What I absolutely love that Konami did here is that it stayed true to the Union theme. If you unionize in real life, you can get places like Walmart shut down, but if you unionize in Yu-Gi-Oh, you get rewarded for it. I'm gonna put it in really good. For an anime deck, ABC pretty much has everything figured out. I don't think it'll be a tier 0 type strategy, but it'll be fairly competitive and a strong strategy to pick up if you wanted to be able to go with that route. Next is Ancient Gears, and players have been calling this deck Tenpai Dragon at home. The reason is because it is a going second deck that is built on OTK, but there's a slight difference between Tenpai Dragon and Ancient Gear. While Tenpai Dragon relies on its less than searchable field spell and Sengen summoning, Ancient Gear has Ancient Gear Fortress, which is not only a little bit easier to search, but also protects throughout every single phase. Essentially, activating Ancient Gear Fortress is an OTK on your opponent. They're not allowed to do anything while you play your Ancient Gear cards, and when it's time for you to OTK, well, your Ancient Gear monsters prevent your opponent from activating effects when you're attacking. In the TCG, we are just missing Ancient Gear statue for the strategy, which changes this deck's entire fortune. I also think that this is another one of those really good anime decks. While I do think that both ABC and Ancient Gear are probably on the lower end of really good, they both stay true to their cause. ABC being a unionized deck and Ancient Gears being a going second OTK strength type deck that summons really powerful monsters and fusion summons. Now, Arcana Force got some new cards, and they okay. I mean, who am I kidding? For Arcana Force players, these cards are crazy. I think one of the more notable cards for Arcana Force is Arcana Force EX, the Chaos Ruler, and this card allows you to be able to special summon one level 10 Arcana Force monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. Bro, so I mean, you're basically saying I'm gonna skip your turn and there's nothing you can do about it. And its Tails effect allows you to be able to add a card that has a coin tossing effect in it. Arcana Force gives it some crazy upgrades to make it a lot stronger, but I don't think that that's enough to bring it past experimental. And the reason why is because it's still a coin flip deck. I understand that you can choose the coin flips when you get your field spell active, and that there are some cards like Chaos the Ruler that don't have bad coin flips effects. But historically, what we know about Yu-Gi-Oh is that when you can't choose the effect of your card when you need it the most, that's when the card becomes an iffy Yu-Gi-Oh card. And while the fortunes of Arcana Force has changed, I don't think it's by much. We're gonna need another tiered reading of cards to be able to make this deck a little bit more viable, possibly even getting rid of the coin flip mechanic altogether. Now, Melodious is actually crazy. I think what's really good about Melodious is that first, it's an incredibly cheap budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Almost anybody has access to this strategy. It's one of those decks that's perfect for beginners because it does teach you pendulums, blinks, fusions, and possibly even X-Seeds. You could also incorporate synchros into it if you really wanted to, but at the very lowest, this deck is incredibly viable. If I had to sing Melodious's praises, I'm gonna put it in GOAT status, one of the best upgrades that we've ever had to an anime deck. Before we got Legacy of Destruction, this deck was a complete afterthought, and hopefully Konami continues to do that for some of the other anime strategies. Now, speaking of anime, if Black Wings remind me of one, they Itachi from Naruto. The reason why I say that is because when you think that Black Wings are at the recesses of your mind, boom, it hits you with the I was always there jutsu. It's one of those decks that keeps getting support without getting support and is forever loved by the fan base as well as the Yu-Gi-Oh company itself. I think that alone keeps Blackwings into mad potential. Because first, Blackwings aren't bad right now. From an anime perspective, they do what they're intended to do. Swarm the field, make a huge board, and can win on turn 2, just like how Crow always intended. We also know that even though the deck doesn't have support right now, it's always going to be getting more support, big dog. We have had Blackwing support in every single Yu-Gi-Oh era, and now we're approaching a new one. So we're kinda due for some more Blackwing cards. Blue Eyes right now is a tale of two stories, because in the current day present Yu-Gi-Oh, this deck is ass. It is one of the worst anime decks imaginable, but there is a silver lining to this strategy. The new support is crazy, and to make it even better, it's a structure deck that we're going to be getting. I always say you can judge the strength of a deck by its Link 1 monster if it does have a Link 1 monster, and Spirit with Eyes of Blue does not disappoint. It requires any level 4 or lower dragon or spellcaster monster. Yeah, Konami ain't forget about that last wave of support. It allows you to be able to take a Mausoleum of White from your deck and add it to your hand and send it to the graveyard, and it also allows you to be able to special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your hand or your graveyard. This is stupid. Mausoleum of White is often thought of as a brick, but it can trigger your effects like Maiden with the Eyes of Blue, and can give you a second normal summon, which is kind of good in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Summoning more monsters? I don't know. Okay. I think this deck got Full Metal Alchemist syndrome. It just ain't gonna die. It's GOAT status now. You gotta respect the Blue Eyes, guys. Because if you got any other type of eyes, you're probably cooked. More on that later. While Yugi has pretty much left Dark Magician out for dead, they have not forgotten about other Yugi strategies, like Chimera. For the people that have been living under Patrick Star's rock, Chimera is crazy strong. This is actually one of the strongest anime decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, hands down. And it only gets better because of the illusion cards that keep coming out in every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Set. If you wanted to play Yugi's deck and you wanted to play the best version of it, it's probably going to be Chimera. It's GOAT status. Now, Code Talker is a whole different story. This deck completely dog-walked 2020, 2021, 2022, and a little bit of 2023. Access Code Talker was that guy. He was that boy that pointed 4 ways. He was that monster that can attack twice. 5,300 attack points. Stood on business. And that's the best thing that Code Talker has going forward. But that doesn't mean it's the only thing. Code Talker can still U-Link in the TCG and still give the opponent a Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. I think some of the bigger problems with Code Talker is Molchummy Flawless and Borrelia, but if you're picking this up as an anime deck, it's a strategy that I think is still really good. It can win incredibly fast, can even adapt to some of the new things that modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are doing, is just susceptible a little bit more than some of the other stronger strategies. Plus, hypothetically, if you're playing with your friends, they're not gonna waste $450 on 3 Flawless, right? They're not going to do that. Now, before I start seeing the D-Writers in the comments saying that Crystal Beast topped the YCS, no. Crystal Beast did not, in fact, top a YCS. One of the best players in the world, playing some of the best cards in the world, that also just so happened to play Crystal Beast cards inside of the best deck, topped a YCS. I don't think anybody can ever replicate that success. Anime your way out of here. Let's face it, guys, Crystal Beasts are a tragically flawed Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategy. While I love Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus and Ruby Carbuncle, and then the new Crystal Beast Dragon card, the other ones, are those even effect monsters? Bro, it should be illegal to even call those monsters effect monsters in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And their retrains? Why? It's easier to gather the 7 Dragon Balls or the 7 Chaos Angels than the 7 Crystal Beasts inside of your deck. Do not play this deck right now, guys. Now, in my last tier list, I talked about how Cyber Dragon needed a way to search Clockwork Knight, and we got it. I ain't gonna be a hater. I ain't gonna say Clockwork Knight. The monster is easily negatable, meaning that even though it did get a search card, it didn't do much. I ain't gonna hate. I'm gonna shut my trap and be happy for Cyber Dragon. It's got some bad potential. I think another thing about Cyber Dragon is that this is another one of those strategies that does get support in every single era. And right now, we kind of do for some of that support to make Cyber Dragon a lot stronger. Pretty good going second deck. We need a little bit more power when going first to make this deck stronger. Now, Dark Magician can Dark Magic blast its way out of here. Come on, dog. It's like a complete crime that Konami keeps giving Blue Eye support, keeps giving Dragon support. But my man, Dark Magician, my mans, my homie, my pal, he keep getting hold out of support. At least Yugi's decks are better. Dark World is technically considered an anime deck in GX. They did go into the Dark World, and yes, like TJ said, they do have cookies. This deck, it's okay. Look, from a competitive perspective, it's not working. But if you guys are playing this deck casually, the best things about Dark World is that it's an unending loop. A lot of times you can do what you sought off to do. You want to hand rip your opponent? Very possible. But you'll also lose to very simple cards like Droll and Lockbird and Bestials. This is the definition of a glass cannon Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Hopefully in the future we get more support to help balance that out, because Dark World has a really interesting aspect that I love about it. Being able to discard cards to activate effects and summon monsters because you discarded cards. Now, DDD, in my opinion, is just a bundle of potential. This is one of the only pendulum decks that I absolutely love. The fusions, the synchros, the Xyz, the pins, everything about the deck is crazy. It also requires way too big of a brain. Even in DDD's height, guys, it required way too much work to be able to make the boards that other Yu-Gi-Oh strategies were doing. I said that in my last tech profile. I want to say experimental. That's me giving the deck grace. But to be honest, still in today's Yu-Gi-Oh, it requires way too much to be playing. But if you do know how to play it, it's fairly rewarding. Now, dinos were played in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and I had to ask my boy Hoodley, like, yo, is dinos even anime? And he was like, yo, in GX, he played Ultimate Tyranno. I guess Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is the retrain, right? That could be Kopi. I think dinos are experimental. The biggest problem with dinos is that it doesn't have the consistency that you would want out of a Yu-Gi-Oh! deck. It has all of these little missing pieces of puzzles, and then when we get new support, it's never the pieces that actually make it cohesive. It's just more power in different ways. If we ever get a fix to that, dinos can be incredibly good. I even talked about it being one of the most powerful boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh's existence. Go ahead and check out that video because it's a really fun one to watch. Now that we have Better on the Floor and Borlo Savage Dragon banned, Synchron can now thrive as its very own deck. It's not just power out those two powerful synchros, it's make Crimson Dragon and do worse than Tyrion plays. What? Going fast makes me feel alive. My heart beats in hyperdrive. Yes, I think this deck can win, but your opponent has to lose, and hand traps let destiny choose. The best version of Synchron is probably Adventure Synchron, and the deck is really, really good. It's clunky at times, it's great at times, it's just a bottle of mixed emotions. I think that this deck needs a little bit more focus. But just like DDD, if you learn how to master the deck, you can be fairly good with it. Earthbound is no. You know, there was a point in time where I thought that Earthbound would be a crazy good engine for all of the anime decks, for Synchron, for Blackwing, for Red Dragon Archfiend, and it turns out it wants to be its own deck, but it doesn't really know what to do either. Big dogs, Exodia came out in 2002. We are in 2024, and I can comfortably say, oh my god, boy, Exodia! Obliterate! Don't judge how I did that. It definitely looks like something else. Exodia already has a YCS top under its belt. It has a crazy feature match when somebody used Exodia on it, and it has a couple of regional tops. This deck is crazy. Exodia best deck 2024. At this point in time, I think Exodia can make a presidential run, and I think we'll all vote for it. On my rogue tier list, somebody forced me to talk about Galaxy Eyes as a rogue deck. Didn't go well. We even saw a comment about somebody saying, God, Callie, who told you to talk about this? This deck is really strong. It is strong in anime sense. The only problem here that even for an anime deck, Galaxy Eyes is a deck that's built to go second, but there are better going second decks here. Like Ancient Gear is built to win. Blackwings have a stronger going first board. This one's tough, boys. I don't think that this deck is bad. I think that it's kind of fun, really crazy, but it's experimental. Galaxy needs a stronger going first presence. And shout out to my boy HM Powered on Master Duel, he figured it out, but I don't know if anime fans would call that a Galaxy deck. It's like a Red Dragon, Blue Eyes, Galaxy, Chaos, Bestial, whatever it wants to be deck. Now, Gate Guardian is something special. This is one of those times where Konami pulled an archetype completely out of their ass and made an anime strategy a lot better than it ever has been. I can respect that, but we have to come down to earth when we look at the strategy and compare it to its peers. It's still anime your way out of here. This deck feel like Rock Lee at the end of Naruto. It has so much potential. Like, it looked really, really good. It just never panned out. Like, you guys genuinely have to think about it. Gate Guardian is supposed to be on the class of Exodia. Exodia is on the class of the Egyptian god cards. Please, somebody explain how that makes sense. Gate Guardian needs more cohesive support, and in actuality, they should just retrain those fusion monsters and make them stronger. There was no need to nerf those cards like they did. Now, Gladiator Beast is getting more support. Gladiator Beast is getting more support? Yes, my boy. A battle strategy in an era where Yu-Gi-Oh! Players use the battle phase not to battle monsters, but to end the game. I think that the deck still has mad potential. Gladiator Beast has evolved into like a combo-based deck, and then the new test monster, I forget what it's called. There's like Test Tiger, that's the original. Test Panther, that's the other one. What is it, like Test Dolphin? Oh, yes. Test Bear. It gives the deck a way to be able to summon Gladiator Beast monsters without having to go into the battle phase, because typically you would save that for winning the game. But if we ever get to an era where the battle phase actually matters for monster a monster, mano a mano, this deck could be a lot better. We just gotta force that type of era. Heroes get more support in Supreme Darkness, though I don't think that they need it. This is a deck that is GOAT status easily. If you guys ever want to pick up a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck that has been good throughout almost every era in Yu-Gi-Oh!, that's your deck. It's almost guaranteed that this deck will be good, and it's almost guaranteed that this deck will get more support. At this point in time, I think it's the most supported strategy in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Go ahead and fact check me if I'm wrong. Now, Maritas finds itself in a really weird spot. It's a deck like Code Talkers that can one-card combo and play hand traps with the rest of them, but you're almost reliant on the area that you're in, not playing the Charmy cards. Like, seriously, guys, where did you get all this money from to buy the Charmy cards? Don't those players have girlfriends, lives, jobs, things to do, other hobbies? Oh, all right. I'll see myself out. Despite that, I still think that Marincess is pretty dang good. Solid budget Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategy that can still keep up with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Just pray to God you have an answer to those Charmy cards. Now, the Full Metal archetype is... I seen the new support. I think that the Metalmorph cards are better served as an engine. Like, for example, how Red Eye's Black Full Metal Dragon is really good for Dragon Link. But as a deck so far, I don't see it just yet. It's anime your way out of here. Bandit Keith cards are going to need a little bit more presence. And now that we're talking about more presence, Red Eyes. Yeah, bro, let me just put it here. Just go ahead and move it here. Red Eyes is the most frustrating Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategy. You remember how I talked about how the other eyes get ignored? Red Eyes is that strategy. You get more Red Eyes support, but like Red Eyes Black Full Metal Dragon, what does that do for Red Eyes? The answer is not much when the deck already serves consistency issues, cohesiveness issues, and we still don't know what the deck is supposed to do. Is it a burn deck? Is it a fusion deck? Is it a ritual deck? Is it an equip deck? What exactly is this strategy? Now, I think that Rockets are one of those strategies that has mad potential. I don't think that Rocket Dragon Link is the wave right now. And it's mainly because the Rocket cards seem severely power crept. And we also lost Borlo Sap Dragon. But Borlin Dragon is a serious game wrecker. This card is almost indefensible if played right, and is a big reason why a lot of players can win games. I think there are some big problems with Raid Raptors. The first of them is that it got some really good support, crazy good support, but it isn't even modernized. Raid Raptors require 2 to 3 card combos to be able to pop off. Now look, there are going to be some other strategies that suffer from the same problems, but Raid Raptor is slightly different. You see, Raid Raptor needs these 2 to 3 cards combos. You have to play only Raid Raptor cards, and the deck is still pretty susceptible to hand interruptions. I don't think that it's bad. I played Raid Raptor for like a month and a half straight, but I'm gonna say experiment. Phantom Knight is another one of those cool decks that can be used as an engine fairly effectively, but also can be its own deck. The thing that I like about it is that how you can mix and mash it with other cards like Horse and anything in between to make the deck a lot stronger, giving it a higher ceiling. I also believe that Orcus is getting more support. So yeah, I would put Orcus and Orcus Phantom Knight, and Phantom Knight in general is just a really solid deck. Again, these decks in the really good spot are not really to write home about when it comes to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, but they're always putting themselves in solid spots to be able to compete with the right player. Phantom Knight 100% fits that criteria, so Raid Raptor players, all hope is not lost. You can switch to Phantom Knights and still be pretty decent. Solomon Great has proven itself to be a GOAT status Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. This strategy is crazy. It don't care about those Mo Charmy cards. How you gonna beat my boy Bagushka in a Solomon Great Roar pack? Yes, I'm telling you, it's the secret to the format. It FTKs the meta. I think one thing that locks Red Dragon Archfiend is that we don't have enough good Dark Dragons, and it also would be incredibly helpful to get a field spell that searches Resonators and turns them to non-tuners, but that's on my wish list. Red Dragon Archfiend has mad potential for a budget Yu-Gi-Oh strategy. It's $30 for 3 structure decks, and you don't need much else after that. It also has been modernized with 1-card combos, so it's a fairly solid deck. Sharks are another GOAT status Yu-Gi-Oh deck. When we get the new Tachyon support, this deck becomes crazy, and the new support right now with surfacing Big Jaws is pretty damn good. Super Heavy Samurai has the potential to be GOAT status, but for right now, experimental. See, the problem with Super Heavy Samurai and what separates it from being that good is the ban list. You remember when I said that a deck is determined by its link ones? Super Heavy Samurai got that one banned. Utopia isn't a real deck, unfortunately. It's not a bad deck, it just can't keep up with Yu-Gi-Oh! Even against some of the lower tier decks, which is kind of a good thing because this deck hasn't been supported in quite some time. I think Volcanics is experimental. This deck also has a going second like theme, kind of like how Ancient Gear had. But the problem with it is that now with the Snake Eyes cards being hit, it did more to hurt this deck than to help this deck. And lastly is Yubel. This is one of the strongest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the best things about this tier list is that there are still some really powerful anime decks in the game. And this top row pretty much proves it. We got Yubel, Chimera, Melodious, Blue Eyes, Heroes, Exodia, Solomon Grape, and Sharks. For the exception of Blue Eyes, which is going to be very soon, every single one of these strategies has competed at a high level. And then for the other strategies, the support on the way definitely gives a lot of hope. But that's all that I have for the anime decks tier list, big dog. Let me know what you think about these particular strategies. And if there's something that I missed and should include on the next tier list, or if there's another particular tier list you'd like to see, go ahead and let me know as well. Until then, big dog, I can't wait to catch you on the next video. Matter of fact, just go ahead and click on another one so I can see you then.